हरि ओम। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। समस्त जनकल्याणी निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। ॐ श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरवे नमः। योगेन चित्तस्य पदेन वाचां मलं शरीरस्य च वैद्यकेन योपाकरोत्तं प्रवरं मुनीनां पातञ्जलि प्राञ्जलिना नतोऽस्मि। हरि ओम। We all have spent considerable number of time on this earth leading what we call a life. We have our own world comprising of ourselves in the center and the worldly relations and the objects around us. We never sit back and think whether what we consider our world as world is really the world that is produced or created by God or not. If we ask a fundamental question to ourselves, who is the creator of the universe? And if it is not me, then what was his design of the universe? And is it same as his and mine? What I call good, bad, nice, not so nice, is it how the universe was designed by the Lord? If Lord Vasudeva has created this universe, first of all, we do not know why he created it. Two, we do not know whether it is a creation or not. Three, we do not know what is the structure and the function of this universe as per the designs of the Lord. In other words, we are not aware of any information about why and how the Lord has created the universe. But it appears that I have interpreted the universe as per my intelligence, the place of my perception called antakarana. So whatever my antakarana is able to perceive and cognize the universe is what the world is for me. it is definitely not the world as was designed by the Lord. And the reason why we come to this conclusion is this world of mine is not a world where I am happy. The world that I stay in is devoid of the bliss. When there is happiness in life, bliss in life, it becomes a livable thing. This bliss producing power, this bliss creation is called Allahadini Shakti of the Lord. It means the Lord created the universe for the sake of Allahad. The other name for Allahad is Prema. And the reason why Allahad and Prem is separately considered is because these two states give us a feeling of devoid of sorrow and only a feeling of happiness, ecstasy forever. In other words, the Lord created structure in a nama rupa, impregnated that with the Allahadini Shakti or the Prema, and enjoyed his creation along with the part and parcels of the creations who were nothing else but Lord's part only, also enjoying the creation through the Allahadini Shakti. So that is what Lord's world is all about, universe is all about, Vishwa is all about. And my universe seems to be completely devoid of that world because I have created my own world in which I have certain presuppositions which have their origin in my antakarana, which are no way parallel to the Lord's world. As a result, I stay in my own world, which is a subset created in the creation of the Lord. So there is no harmony between my world and Lord's world. And the culprit for this is my own interpretation of the world done and made by the antakarana. In the Lord's world, every constituent of the cosmos or the creation, being Lord's own thing, is unaware of its existence but is aware of only the Lord's existence. Let us take example of our body. In our body, there are so many billions of cells that are residing inside us. None of them consider themselves as a separate entity, but they consider their existence as the existence of this body. So their existence, astitva, is identified with the body of me. Similarly, in Lord's creation, every created constituent identifies itself as part of Lord's body, and to identify yourself as something else, it presupposes forgetting you as a separate entity. The moment you think you are a separate entity than the creation, the problem starts. Now that you have decided to identify yourself as not Lord's constituent, but as a separate entity, then your every interaction with other constituents of the Lord's universe becomes a interaction between me and them. Idam. Once this type of interaction is set, then the instrument or the modality of this differentiation being the antakarana or the mind starts hovering from object to object, entertaining relationship with subjects to subjects, and feeling them subjectively and classifying them as different types of experiences. So a new thing that occurs to such an isolated, self-identifying constituent is experience. When I consider myself as the part or the constituent of Lord's creation, I don't have to bother about any experience because the experiencer is not there, because I identify myself as Lord's creation. When I do not identify myself as a separate entity, then I inherit all the qualities of the Creator, and then I enjoy those qualities. Prime amongst them, Alladini Shakti, or the blissful nature. So the bliss will always come to all the constituents. Such constituents are called Gop or Gopika. Being in constant unison with the Creator, forgetting or not identifying oneself as not a constituent of Lord's universe, but just a part and parcel of His creation, helps us in living in tandem with the Lord's designs, which are devoid of sorrow. That means they are imbued with bliss. Coming to my world, where I consider myself as a separate constituent, I create my own world simply because I consider myself to be different than Lord's world, in the world in which my only apparatus, which is powerful enough to identify, is my antakarana. It starts interacting with the surrounding objects and subjects, and from them it creates a new universe. So two cardinal mistakes happen. One, forgetting that I am constituent of Lord's universe, that is called ajnana or avidya in Advaita. And the second is, because I am not Lord's constituent, then who am I? I'm a separate individual, and then I work according to that principle that I am not Lord's constituent, I am a separate entity, Bheda, and that is called Vikshepa. This Vikshepa is exacerbated, increased by constantly hovering antakarana or the mind, depending upon different experiences we get. Now, those are experiences of deluded mind or the antakarana, a mind that does not think itself as a constituent of Lord's world, but consider itself as a separate existence, is called deluded antakarana. Such a deluded antakarana, the delusion of that antakarana is called vritti. Vritti's ultimate thing is the experience we get. So we have antakarana, which is supposed to be completely devoid of any movement because it is consecrated to Lord. Instead, now it has identified itself as a separate entity, leading to creation of vrittis in the mind, Vrittis means the change that happens in the antakarana after the antakarana interacts with the Vishayas, which leads to a different kind of experience. And that experience is not a very happy experience. So, it being a painful experience, it is called sorrow. And to avoid that sorrow, the mind again keeps hovering from object to object in the search of that happiness which is deluding it, without realizing the fact that the sorrow is coming not from the object, happiness is coming not from the object, but because of the forgetfulness of the antakarana, which it has fundamentally made a mistake by considering itself as a separate entity. If this is the case, then such an hovering mind is an aberration of life. Such a hovering, fluctuating mind, moving and flitting from object to object, is called vikshepa. I am part of the Lord's constituent is forgotten, because as if there is a curtain on my eyes that is called ajnana or avidya. And now that I'm performing as me being the center of the universe, not the Lord, so I keep projecting my mind towards different objects. This projected mind is called vikshepa. These vikshepas are the obstacles which do not let us go close to our original condition, the way Lord has kept us. That is why the projected mind, the vikshepa, creates the obstacles called antaraya, which Patanjali Maharaj, with absolute surgical precision, defines as nava antaraya, vyadhi sthana samshaya pramada alasya avirati bhranti darshana. So one by one, we find that the obstacles of these types which were just described desist us from identifying with Lord's universe. And that is why alabdha bhumikatva and anavasthitam are the last two of the 9 obstacles called Nava Antaraya. If I do not have vyadhisthana samshaya pramada alasya avirati bhranti darshana, then I shall be in a state of being where I am Lord's constituent, completely forgetting myself as a separate entity, which is a state of Ahlad, prema, bliss, samadhi avastha. Yoga is a process of obliterating these vikshepas and going back to the state where you again become the constituent of Lord's universe. In the Lord's universe, everyone has the same properties of Lord as Lord has. Lord is omnipotent, omniscient, so are his constituents. If that is the case, then because I am not aware and I have identified myself as a separate entity, creating a jnana avarana around me, projecting my mind into different vikshepas, creating 9 obstacles, as a result, I get 4 effects with which my life is afflicted. Dukkha. The first effect is dukkham, sorrow. Just remove sorrow and see how the life would be. All our efforts are there to remove the sorrow. The efforts are in a wrong direction. A person who knows that the madaka dravya or the alcohol is the cause of his downfall, again goes to the alcohol to find the solution for it. फिर उसी बेवफा पे मरते हैं, फिर वही जिंदगी हमारी है. So the desire for an object, it's simply because constantly we feel that, this object will make me happy. So we desire, so we chase the object, get the dukkham, again we chase the object, again the desire. So the very force with which my mind tries to project itself in this world now is called desire. In Lord's world, universe, as Lord's constituent, I have no desire because I stay the way Lord has kept me, because I'm a part of the Lord. Since I'm the part of the Lord, I have all the power inside me. I have Ichha Shakti, Kriya Shakti, Jnana Shakti to its brim, full to its brim. So there is nothing left for me to desire because I'm complete. When I consider myself as a separate individual or the Bhedam, I'm incomplete because I'm a Jiva. A Jiva is Alpa Shakti, Alpa Buddhi. So Dukkha Daurmanasya. Daurmanasya means debilitated mind because of desire is called Daurmanasya. These days we are suffering from lots of mental disorders. All those disorders, from day-to-day sadness to the frank expression of madness, all are because of desire in the mind. Desire is the pollutant of the mind which completely obliterates the pristine purity of the mind. So, dukkha daurmanasya angasya ejatvam. We do not perceive every time, but every time we do the vikshepa, there is a tremor felt inside the body. The body does react physically to every thought. Sometimes in the patients of blood pressure or the hypertension, it becomes apparent that the body starts shaking. An angry person's body is shaking. The tremors are frankly set in. But for a normal person also, whose tremors are not seen, there is an ajatvam, there is an agitation, mental, causing physical agitation also. And the fourth effect of these vikshepas is disturbance in respiration. These are critically analyzed and investigated by Patanjali Maharaj because the cause and the effect both are delineated. Sometimes by controlling the effect, you can catch hold of the cause. If these four effects are called vikshepa sahabhuhu, the compulsory accompaniment of the vikshepa. So if these four are compulsory there, then by controlling the effect, you can also control the cause. What it means is, either you try to remove the dukkham, the most difficult part, or you try to remove the desire from the mind, second difficult part, or you try to remove the kampanam of the body, but we don't even perceive it, so we can't remove it so easily. That leads us to the fourth vikshepa sahabho, respiration. That is a very obvious thing which can be regulated. Since we have seen the anatomy and physiology and pathology of mind so far in Yoga Shastra, one thing is very clear in our mind, that the main issue is mind, and mind's main issue is its fluctuations or fleeting nature. So, in order to take care of such fluctuations, the one and the only method or the way devised by Patanjali Maharaj is, such a fleeting mind cannot be resolved into non-fleeting. There is no way a vikshepa mana, antakarana, can be suddenly quietened. Not possible. So the first step is, such a fleeting mind, disturbed mind, vikshepam of the mind has to be controlled by bringing it to one. When I say one, ek tattva abhyas. Incidentally, tattvam can be anything. Presently, your problem is you are doing too many things at too quick a succession. Observe yourself. In our daily life, we say, I'm sitting, doing nothing, I'm relaxing. We are not relaxing. The most difficult asana in yoga is Shavasanam, where you relax physically and mentally. The reason why it is difficult is the so-called rest that we are taking is the body being made still, but the mind is roving around the world. Patanjali Maharaj says, such a vikshepa tat pratishedhartham, to oppose such mind, the first stage is ekatattva abhyas. Ekatattva abhyas, because the mind shall learn to do the vikshepa, but not on too many things, on one thing. It is a vikshepa. It is a disturbed mind, but not as much disturbed as it was earlier. And we see the result of such ekatattva abhyasam. We all became qualified people in some qualification as doctor, engineer, etc., etc., by doing ekatattva abhyasa. When examination came, we said, nothing doing. Now don't call me. I'm focusing on my studies. What are we doing, sir? We are trying to focus on ekatattva abhyasa. The problem is the exam is over and the knowledge is gone. Because we do not stay at ekatattva for sufficiently long time. Even in Adhyatmam, Bhagavad Gita study, we somehow pull ourselves and our mind on Friday or Thursday night to study, and we do understand because of ekatattva abhyasam what is written there by Gurudeva, only to be forgotten by Friday afternoon. What happened? The mind again was lifted from that ekatattva to anekatattva. So ekatattva abhyasam is first step of quietening the mind to one single point, and such act is called prarambhika karma shodhana. It is also called as chitta shuddhi vyapara, cleansing of the mind, because purifying the mind itself means bringing the mind to one point. You must have observed, and we must now keenly observe, that Patanjali Maharaj does not put any precondition of the person as Papi Punyavan who can do yoga, nothing. He says, if you are able to do concentration on one pointedness, irrespective of who you are, you shall achieve the results. But to have such a kind of ekatattva abhyas, or the concentration on one point, which is the key of quietening the mind, one has to have the habit of doing it. And when we say habit, we are talking of character. The character comes from vasana. The vasana comes from samskara. Samskaras come from interaction with the object and the subject. So for so many births, the type of samskara you have had, which defines your vasana, which further defines or characterizes your character, is the one will decide whether the ekatattvam abhyasam will be possible or not. With Gurudeva, with immense amount of Shuddha Vasana of so many yesteryears, it took less than 2 to 3 years to achieve enormous amount of concentration. In fact, if we read his biography, as a child, he used to imagine the idol of Shiva in his mind, and that was his game. A child's game. Concentration was his child's game. It was not because he learned it in childhood. It was because the samskaras of yesteryears helped him to propel easily on the path. Now, this need not make us feel sad, because it is a frank dissection of our state. If I'm not able to concentrate, that means I'm falling short in sattva guna. So what can I do? What are my methods? If I have to do this concentration or ekatattva abhyasa or chitta shuddhi, what should I be doing first? Patanjali Maharaj has been kind enough, compassionate enough to tell us 7 different ways, 7 different ways of chitta shuddhi, which will help us to do ekatattva abhyasa. And out of that, the first one, he says, with priority. The first one is our interaction with the outer world, how it should be. If you are a student of any branch, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Raja Yoga, Sahaja Yoga, whatever yoga we talk of, the first step is Chitta Shuddhi, because Shuddha Chitta only can do concentration. And that is why for the Chitta Shuddhi, amongst these 7 different marg that has been told by Patanjali Maharaj, which are under study right now, the first is change the way you behave in this world. And how do you behave? Not very difficult to remember. Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upeksha, Sukha Dukkha, Papa, Punya, Papa, Vishayanam. That means Sukha Sambhoga Utpanneshu Maitrim Bhavayet. Wherever in this world there is something good happening, feel good about it. It apparently looks very simple, but observe yourself. Do you really feel happy when somebody has achieved something? There is a small percentage of jealousy, irsha. Drop this competitive spirit altogether. Compete with yourself, but not with other success. Do we really feel as happy as the person who has stood first when we have failed? No, we feel sad. The sadness is not because of our own failure, it is because of somebody else's success. Is it not that if our own child fails in the exam and you come across somebody whose child has also failed, you feel better? Inka bhi beta fail ho gaya. Why do you feel better? Because you feel nobody has gone ahead of you. That is not, sir. This will create problem with the chitta. Then your ekagrata will be lost. Chitta shuddhi is gone. Parikarma will be faulty. So, सुख भोग उत्पन्ने सुख संभोग उत्पन्नेषु मैत्रीम भावयेत दुखेषु करुणाम भावयेत. Do not ever feel that acha hua, he deserved that punishment. This I feel like hitting them if they come across me. This particular religion, they're so bad. No, sir. You cannot harbinge any kind of animosity. That is called bhava himsa. Don't have bhava himsa. Does that mean that you tolerate all nonsense that is happening around you? No. Restrict your reaction to the nonsense and not the origin of the nonsense which is happening in the body of somebody. Violence is to be shunned across the board, not because it is coming from somebody, because violence per se is to be shunned, not from where it is coming. From where is an instrument. A murderer who murders, the murder has to be condemned, not the murderer, because murderer is an instrument, upadhi. All upadhis are Lord's upadhis. The jiva, because of the karma, did a malicious act. The act is to be condemned, not the actor. Even the punishment meted out in law is punishment to the attitude. Why a murderer is hanged? Because that will let others feel that the act is bad. Nobody says, I have stopped murdering people because XYZ was hanged. They say, no, because murder leads to hanging. Inanimate, intangible effects, those are to be shunned. So, anybody's dukkham, you must have karuna. Then, punyatmeshu, punyatmakeshu mudita harsham bhavayet. Any saintly person, punyatma coming, you must feel not irsha, anandam. Somebody knows better Upanishad than me. He is a godly person to me. Somebody knows, somebody can teach me something. He is a guru sthana for me. You should not feel that, oh, he has just read something. He is little better. I don't have time. Otherwise, I would have also known. No. Accept your position and be happy and contented and abhinandati. Abhinandati, such purusha which are punyavan. And if you come across the papa shila, apunya shileshu, papi is apunya shileshu, at that time have upeksha. Upeksha is indifferent. Don't say bad thing about a bad person. Be indifferent. You're traveling together in an aircraft and the person next to you has ordered alcohol. Don't try to be jittery and make a show that, I don't like non-veg, I don't like this guy is eating, I could not eat myself. No. Carry on with your things. Be indifferent. These 4 acts of behavior in the life itself gives to chitta shuddhi. And this is vouched and guaranteed by none else than Patanjali Maharaj. So we should have no issue whatsoever in following these advices. Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upeksha, Sukha Dukha, Punya Papa Vishayeshu, respectively for Sukham, Dukkham, Papam, Punyam. Punyam, Papam, we should have Sukham, Dukkham, Punyam, Papam. For this, we should have Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upeksha, respectively. Once this is there, then if somebody is able to do this, now which parikarma or which method of chitta shuddhi you should adopt out of the 7? There is no restriction that you should do only one. You can do all 7. You can do one with concentration or combinations. All are allowed. The second method of doing chitta shuddhi is very startling. Patanjali Maharaj says, even by controlling respiration, you can have chitta shuddhi. That's quite a surprising statement. By breathing, I will be able to cleanse my mind? Yes, sir. There is a deep science behind it. Completely agreed by the modern medical science. So the second way of doing chitta shuddhi or parikarma is prachardana vidharanabhyam va pranasya. This va is or. The first one was already mentioned, or that means the second way, second method is pranasya prachardana vidharana. What is prachardana? See, in Yoga Sutra, an alert mind must have observed by now, sometimes Patanjali uses the word shwasa prashwasa. We saw that earlier it came, shwasa prashwasa. Shwasa prashwasa came in vikshepa sahabho, the 4 vikshe dukkha, daurmanasya, angasya ejatvam, shwasa prashwasa. That is where it came. Here it is saying prachardhana and vidharana. It's not saying pranayam per se, because prana ayam is an act to be done. Prachardhana vidharana is what? A normal breathing is also a method of cleansing the chitta. What is normal breathing and abnormal breathing? We must understand, and I'm speaking from the point of view of medical standpoint, more so in last 10 years, a lot of study has been made, few of them by even journals like Lancet and JAMA, Journal of American Medicine. What they have observed is, by letting people breathe normally, this word is used in their research paper, normally, a lot of diseases can be reversed. So they're working on it. While the Yoga Shastra has taken it to a completely different level. And mind well, in these medical experiments, they had no qualms or inhibition of using even the word Patanjali in their research paper. In fact, one of the method administered during these random trials is by doing pranayama. So prachardhana. What is prachardhana? Koshthasya vayoho nasika putabhyam prayatna visheshat vamanam prachardhanam. Koshtastha vayu. Koshtha means udarastha vayu, abdomen. Now, it is sometimes really surprising how precision was achieved by the older Munis. Vayu is in chest. Then why udarastha is used? The answer comes from modern medicine. The best way of breathing is abdominal breathing, not chest breathing. What do you mean by abdominal breathing? Breathe in and let the tummy swell out, bulge out. Normally, when we do this, the tummy doesn't move, only the chest comes out. That is called chest breathing. When you do it with tummy popping out, it is bulging out, it is called abdominal breathing, which is considered to be the best because of the diaphragmatic movement and the intercostal muscles action. So udarastha vayu nasika putabhyam, not from the mouth. Nasika putabhyam prayatna visheshat vamanam, to throw out from the nostrils the air inside the tummy is called prachardana, which is called as rechaka. Rechaka. Rechaka is vamanam, to throw out. Air, or the air being thrown out with the help of abdomen and chest through the nostrils is called prachardana, which is also called rechaka. Vidharana, visheshatva dharayati, vidharana pranayamaha. So prachardana and vidharana both together make pranayam. What is vidharana? Vidharana is breathing in and waiting for some time before throwing out. So breathing in is puraka, keeping it there is kumbhaka. Kumbhaka, because as if the water is filled in a pot, the air is filled in the pot called chest and abdomen and kept it there before it is being thrown out again. Simply by taking the air in, keeping it there and throwing it out, that means doing the puraka, kumbhaka, both together are called vidharana, and throwing it out, which is called prachardana. So prachardana vidharana of pranavayu, pranasya, you will be able to do chitta shuddhi or stability of mind. Chitta shuddhi, stability of mind, ekagrata, they are parallel things. One means the same, second means the same, third means the same. Because Shuddha Chitta only can concentrate, and a stable mind is a Shuddha Chitta. So Prachardhanam is Yogoktaritya Bahihi Nissaranam is Prachardhanam or Rechaka. Puraka is Yogoktaritya Antaha Panam, that which is received inside as per yoga. And Kumbhaka Tadanu Antasthapanam. Now the air can be steadied inside or can be steadied outside. That means after breathing out, you wait for some time. That is called Bahir Kumbhaka. But in that you do not hold any air because the air is already outside. When you breathe in and keep the air inside, that is called Kumbhaka or Antar Kumbhaka. The most critical word in this is Yogoktaritya. In the Bhashya, the word uses Prayatna Visheshat. That means it is not a normal breathing that we breathe. In other words, every one of us is not breathing properly. Because we are not breathing properly, the Chitta Shuddhi or Ekagrata is not there. Because our mind is wavering, the respiration is not normal. They are interrelated. Whenever you will be disturbed, so will be disturbed the respiration. Whenever you will be quiet, the respiration will be quiet. Reversing the position, if you are able to regulate the respiration, you will be able to regulate the mind. Now this appears more imaginary for a normal person, but let me give you the medical background behind it. We all know that if I touch my cheek with my finger, I came to know about it because there are nerves here in my cheek and there are nerves at the tip of my finger. So when I touch this, there is a tactile sensation which is carried from the nerves in my hand and then ultimately through my spinal cord to my brain. And it is analyzed in the sensory cortex that yes, this is a finger touching the cheek of the same person, not some other person. It's a very complex affair. Even in a normal MBBS, you spend more than 6 months studying only these tracts and how the nerves conduct, etc. But these are called somatic sensation. But if I press my cheek, I come to know that it is a pressure and not only the touch, because there is a special recipient here called Pacinian corpuscle, which gives me a feeling which travels through the nerves and says that it is a pressure, sir, it is not a touch. So a crawling insect I come to know, and a touch of an electric current I come to know, and I know they are two different things. So that is differentiation in the sensations of the body called somatic sensation differentiation that happens through the nervous system. All right. So this is as far as our external body is concerned. What about the internal body? How does stomach come to know that it is full? It's basically a bag. You keep on eating and keep on adding food, but after some time you say, oh, it's full now, I don't want to eat. Who gave the sensation? You have not touched the stomach. So that is why those sensations of the internal organs, the stomach, the kidney, the liver, the brain, the heart, the lungs, adrenal glands, testicles, all these sensations are different types of sensations. They are called autonomous nervous system. They are not in our control. They are on their own, automatically working, autonomous. This is voluntary. Will I be touching my cheek or not? I can decide about it. But will I be secreting acid inside my stomach? I cannot control it. I cannot say that, oh, stomach, don't eat. Feel yourself full. Nothing will happen because stomach doesn't listen to you, because it is autonomic nervous system. That is the reason if you take intestine in your hand and cut it with the knife, you will not have pain. Intestines do not have pain because it is not somatic nervous system. The skin has pain. If you cut skin with a blade, it will pain. But if you cut the intestine in front of the eyes of the patient, he will not realize it. Why? There is no somatic sensation, only autonomic. For example, intestines and stomach, these are tubular things. They feel the pressure when they are expanded, they're filled with something. So the expansion feeling, that's why you say it is paining in my tummy. Why? Maybe I ate too much. Now the question is, all these nerves which are supplying to these organs, including the chest, which is responsible for the breathing, they are called autonomous nervous system, and they are mainly made up of two things called sympathetic and parasympathetic nerve system. They are opposite to each other. If one is responsible for contraction of the stomach, another is responsible for the dilation of the stomach. If one is responsible for contracting the arteries and the blood vessels, the another is responsible for dilating it. They are contrary to each other. Sympathetic, parasympathetic, together they form autonomous nervous system. Not going into the details, the simplest way to remember is anything which is a response to fight, flight, and fright. When you are frightened, when you want to fight with somebody, and when you want to run, sympathetic system comes into the action. And the best example is just before the examination. You start sweating, you feel tremors, you feel something is happening in the tummy, you feel like going to the loo. These are all effects of sympathetic nervous system. Reverse of this is when you're absolutely cool, the breathing becomes low, heart rate drops down, muscles relax. All that happens because of parasympathetic nervous system. Now, normally, this system of nerves called autonomous nervous system is not under your control, but Yogis can exercise control on autonomous nervous system through breathing. And that is why by controlling the breathing, you can control the autonomous nervous system. By controlling autonomous nervous system, you control the mind. Let's take an example. If you are able to breathe deeply, it reduces the heart rate. It's called sinus bradycardia. So when you're breathing deeply and slowly, the heart rate drops, the oxygenation improves, and both these things reduce the sympathetic nervous system, which is responsible for anger, tremor, sweating, rage. Everything dies down. And that is why when we do this, automatically the state of the mind changes. In other words, it becomes more stable. So that is the reason prachardhana vidharanabhyam va pranasya. By regulating the movement of the pranavayu through the nostrils and the help of chest and abdomen in a manner as prescribed in yoga, it is possible to quieten the mind. So this is the second method of stabilizing the mind. Now the question is, when it comes to behavior with the people around you, the first option given amongst the 7 is to be used. Maitri, Mudita, Karuna, Upeksha. That is for interaction with the people. As far as ourselves are concerned, because when I'm not interacting with anybody, there is nobody to show Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upeksha. I'm sitting. Now, who is troubling me? My thoughts are troubling me. Now, these thoughts have an ability to excite the sympathetic nervous system. Why do you think people sob and cry sitting alone? There's nobody around. But what makes them cry? The memory, the smruti of the thoughts. So thoughts can create havoc in the mind. So to quieten such a mind which is provoked by the thoughts, that is the time, since you are not exhibiting option number 1 of Maitri Karuna, because there's nobody around causing these things, it's my own mind, I shall be resorting to pranayama. And even when I am not agitated, all the more reason I can do pranayama, because it will help me in doing ekagrata. That's why moment you decide to have regulated breathing, your mind automatically focuses on the breathing. How will you know that you've taken a deep breath? Only when you focus on the deep breath. Moment you focus on the deep breath, the mind automatically comes back from wherever it has gone to the breathing. And this breathing is supposed to be continuous flow of oil, taila dharavat. So it's not that you breathe a lot and then slowly, or first slow and then fast. It has to be a continuous same volume of the air for a very long time. So a person has to practice this constantly when he is alone. As he keeps on practicing it, slowly it becomes the habit. There is a sahajata that comes into it. That is why a yogi, even if he is speaking, his breathing is going on at a regular rhythm. Because it is a regulated, regular breathing, the number of breaths required goes down. It drops from the so-called medical normal of 12 per minute to slowly 9, 8, 7, 5, 6, 3, and sometimes it stops in accomplished yogis. If it stops, who aerates the pranavayu? In samadhi avastha, the breathing becomes absolutely the way it should be. So it is not many times observed. A yogi breathes, but it is not seen. That's why many a times a meditating good yogi, one has to look very closely to see if there is any chest movement, because he is breathing at his best. We all know we are breathing because we are having a disturbed breathing. See how a person who is sobbing, he breathes. He moves like this. He gasps for the air because it is the height of disturbed respiration. A calm and a quiet respiration quietens the mind, and such a regulated pranayama is the second method of quietening the mind, which helps in doing ekagrata. Patanjali Maharaj says this is the first step. First step is Chitta Shuddhi. Chitta Shuddhi is Ekagrata. Ekagrata can be obtained with the help of stability or quietening of mind. Quietening of mind can be done by 7 different methods. The first method, while interacting in the world, tells us, teaches us Maitri Karuna Mudita Upeksha. And the second method is breathing. A good sadhaka is one who interacts less in the world. Lesser the interaction, he is a better sadhaka. One who is involved in too many things. Absolute sheer stupidities like WhatsApp group and YouTube videos and forwarding the messages and watching the television and commenting upon the political situations is undue and deliberate attempt to be in the world. Be away from all that. That will leave a lot of time to oneself to contemplate. But the contemplation gets interrupted by the memory or the smriti, and these smritis then can vitiate the mind in the same manner as if interacting out in the outside world. In order to quieten them, the first method is of no use because you are not interacting. You are interacting with yourself. When you interact with yourself, the method is pranayama. Sit quietly, breathe quietly, breathe as deep as you can. Be aware of the breath that is going in. Feel the breath that is going in through the nostrils, into the stomach. Feel the air that is moving out. So critical and important is this, that a person of Kabir's stature, he says, चढ़ते उतरते दम की खबर ले फिर नहीं आना पड़ता. It has an ability of giving complete salvation provided it is done in the manner as prescribed by the yoga. As time will pass and we move towards the sadhana path, etc., further details of pranayama would be coming. But right now, just as a second method of stability, of achieving stability of the mind, this is the second method. There are still 5 more methods left. All of them can be employed. There is no restriction on which one to be employed. Depends upon the situation, ability, inclination, and the presence of sattva guna in us. With this, we finish the second method of stabilizing the mind, which is an essential prerequisite of concentration of the mind. Hari Om. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.
Hari Om Sanjay ji. We'll wait for any questions, clarifications from the sadhaks.
Hari Om Sanjay ji. When you were mentioning about this normal breathing and the Muni's breathing, that stability and all, my mind went to this ventilator rhythm. That is controlled by external, I mean, the doctors are controlling it, no? So that has any relationship with the mind, or it is the body functioning? Because that time the mind is almost dead kind of thing, no thoughts coming, no? So they put it in the normal, 12 or 9, I mean, it's out of the context, but still just want to know about that.
No, it is not out of the context. It's a very good question. The breathing has effect on two things. One is effect on the physical organs, and second is effect on the mind. Mind is an intangible thing, so no effects can be demonstrated by an instrument. So when an artificial ventilator is put, the ventilator acts in place of a center in brain called brain stem. That is a center which regulates the breathing. Because there is a failure of breathing center, the nerve system modulated breathing is at fault. External breather is given to the hollow organs called chest. So someone else is pumping the air for you. It is not your own brain, as well as it is not your own volition, because the volition is not there. That is why the effect of artificial ventilation is a perfect breathing, but the effect is only on the body because mind is absent. That is why you keep a person alive for some more time, but that is keeping the physical organs alive and the circulation intact, because oxygen is provided, but it has no effect whatsoever on here above, because the brain, which is a medium between the mind and the body, everything happens because of the mind, antakarana, but it acts through the central nervous system, which is the brain, on the organs. That is how the body works. So imagine it is a chariot that is being pushed now by some external force, but the rider in the chariot is absent. So the chariot will keep going, but how long it will go? Unless the charioteer comes back and takes the control, then the push can be taken out. But there are certain conditions in which such a respiration gives a respite to the chariot till the charioteer comes inside. That is why it is used in medicine. So that is why there is no effect on mind, because mind itself is not working at that moment. It is such a mind is called as mudhavastha. It is also called as murcha. There is a word for it. It's called murcha. Hari Om.